Hey class, Prof JC here. I want to take some time this week and talk about something that's very important to me, and I think it should be a driving factor in your life. If we had a class and we were in person together, you would have heard me repeat this over and over and over and over again, because I think this right here, what I'm getting ready to talk to you about, it's one of the most important lessons that you can learn. And when you get this down, when you understand this right here, everything in life begins to work out in a much better way. Everything in life, excuse me. And I call this the PVPVM. PVPVM. And again, if we had more classes together, you would hear a lot about this, but let me just dive in and kind of share what this is. If you want to have a great life, if you want to be able to lead well, if you want to have a great organization, if you want to have a great team, what I'm getting ready to tell you is the most important thing, that it all starts here. It all starts right here. Every question that you'll ask later down the road will come back to this right here. When you understand this for your personal life, for your team, for your organization, for your profession, whatever it is, when you get this, what I'm getting ready to share with you, everything else begins to make sense. But here's the thing. Most people walk through life and they're aimless. They have no direction. They don't know where they're going. And this is what I'm trying to tell you right here. We'll be able to provide this for you. And again, you'll be able to learn what to say no to and what to say yes to. And I think that's really important for you to become the leader that you want to become, is to be very focused in life. That's key, is understanding that the most successful people in life, the greatest leaders, the greatest managers, the greatest CEOs, the greatest entrepreneurs, they're all highly focused people. Highly, and I shared this in one of the other videos. I've had a chance to be around some really successful people, and the thing that I come away with after my time with them is that they just want to talk about one thing. They are so driven on one thing. It's because they understand this. They understand their PVPVM. Let's dive in and talk about it. So what is this? I call this the personal constitution. Okay. I think it starts with this. You can do this personally. You can do this for a team. You can do this for an organization. But it all starts with the Constitution. And here's what your PVPVM is. Your principles, your values, your purpose, your vision, and your mission. Your principles, your values, your purpose, your vision, and your mission. So let's dive in and kind of talk about each one of these. Again, we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about this, but it's important for you to understand kind of what this is. And then I would recommend that you take time and figure this out, because unless you have this down, unless you've got it written somewhere, your own constitution, if you had an organization, this is almost like the precursor to what I would say a business plan would be, profit and loss statement. First, you got to sit down and kind of figure out, who are you? What is your business? What is your organization? What are they aiming to achieve in life? What products and how are they going to do that? Through what products, through what services, what customers, what niche market are you going to go after? Right? And all this can be handled here. But again, you can do this on a personal level as well. What's my purpose in life? What's my vision? Where am I going? So let's talk about these. And here's one thing I find as well. Most people don't know what these terms actually mean. When you say principles, if you were to go out in the street right now and say, hey, tell me what a principal is, they'd have no idea. They might say it's the leader of a school, right? Something along that, right? And even if they had an idea, they couldn't tell you exactly what it is, but I'm going to tell you. If you ask values, people don't know really what that means. If you talk about purpose, vision, mission, I hear people get this messed up all the time. Here's what this actually means. Principles are the unwavering rules for life. These are rules, these are standards that you live by, and they never, ever, ever, ever change. And here's what I know. Again, going back to talking about successful people, the most successful people in life that I know, they're all driven by principles. There's a great book here. I've recommended this book. I highly recommend you get this book. And if you're going to do any summertime reading, it's called I don't know if you can see it there. Principles by Ray Dalio. Principles by Ray Dalio. Mine's kind of a dirty copy because I've used this a lot. So this is a multi-billionaire. He's one of the richest men in America, and he's written down kind of his principles for life. Now, you may not accept all of his principles, but at least you'll get an idea when you read through this. How do you develop principles in life? Okay. And what he basically talks about is every time you make a decision, write down how you came to that the choice that you made. Write down how you came to the outcome that you came to. And that helps you begin to see what your principles are. And then if they need tweaked, then you can tweak them and all that kind of stuff, right? So principles, though, are the unwavering rules for life. These things don't change. It doesn't matter what season it is, doesn't matter what year it is, doesn't matter the money you can make, right? It's the rule for life. So it could be, and we've done some work on this in the class already. It could be, I don't steal. No matter what, I don't steal, I don't cheat. So that means that when you get a huge business offer, but you find out there's a little bit of something going on underneath the table, and it means that you're going to be, you're not going to be, you're going to underreport. Maybe that's what it is. You're going to underreport, and thereby you're going to be taking some money from the government. Now maybe you're a free market person like I am, and you think, man, I don't want as much government intervention as there is. However, the rules stick, right? So if you're a principled person, you say, I don't steal, even if you're a free market thinker and say, well, the government shouldn't have this money. I want to get this money back from the government. You still say, well, but the rules are X, Y, Z, and I'm going to follow the rules no matter what. That's how you guide your life. I'll be honest, one of the students in the class wrote down when they were talking about their principles, they said, adultery is wrong, right? So this is someone who's married, and they said adultery is wrong. And so the point they made is that there's never excuse for it. So if you have that principle, then when you're in the interactions, right, with other people out there in the world that aren't your spouse or partner, and maybe there's some thoughts that happen to cross your mind, or there's some opportunities that come up that would put you in a position to break those principles, you immediately walk away from that. And more than likely, you're really intentional about setting up boundaries before that even happens. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day who's actually he's actually the president of the MOL Alumni Association, or alumni community is what we're calling it. And he's a student, but I would consider him a friend. He took one of my classes, but we just connected. He's kind of an older student, so we connected. And one of the things that he said, we were having lunch, and he says, I didn't know what he meant, but he said, my wife and I don't do the pink on blue or blue on pink. And I was like, what is that? He said, we never ever meet one-on-one with somebody from the opposite sex. And I was like, wow, man, that is awesome, right? Now, I've got the same principles, I understand that, but I don't hear a lot of people in the marketplace talking about that. I don't hear people outside of churches talking about this. And this is not an overly religious guy, but they just made the decision that we have something very good between us, and we're not going to put ourselves in positions where that's a principle, right? That's a rule, and that doesn't change no matter what happens. Values, though, are behaviors that I want to adopt at this season of my journey, or whatever season it is. Okay. Now, values can change over time. Okay. So let me give you an example. Let's say, and I don't know how many of you on the call have kids, but let's say you have children. I have children, right? So this would work for me. Maybe it works for you. If you have children, there's going to be a season of your life, right, that certain behaviors are going to be of certain value to. So I'm just throwing something out there. You might have a value of, we go to bed at 9 p.m. every night because you have kids, or maybe we go to bed at 8 p.m. every night because you have kids. Now, let's say 20 years from now goes by, the kids are out of the house, and you and your spouse, whatever, you're still together, you're still doing life together, but now there's no kids. Maybe the rules change, or once the kids leave the house, the rules change. You say, well, now we might want to stay up till 11 o'clock at night, right? So that's a value that changes over time because of the situation. Early on in life, when you're trying to build, you're trying to save, right? So a value might be, we save every penny. A value might be, we don't go out to eat. We only eat at home. That's a value we have in the home. But then the money you get saved, you bring in more income, you're doing well financially, that value changes a little bit, right? So values are always connected to behaviors, right? So you can look at somebody, I've heard somebody say this before, you can check out somebody's, their checkbook and their calendar, and you can tell what they value, right? Because you're looking at behaviors, you're looking at how do they spend their money and how do they spend their time, right? So values are always connected to that. There's a lot of people, again, people throw up values on the wall, like our company values are integrity. What does that mean, right? Now, that could be a value, but it's got to be attached to behavior. That means that in every situation, we have integrity. That means that you say what you're really thinking. You do what you do what's integrous. I don't know if that's a word that I can use. You do what's integrous to what you really believe. You're authentic. You don't lie. right? And so you can attach that behavior to something, right? Now I would say that's more of a principle, because that's probably something you want to be unchanging throughout the rest of your life. But a value, again, if we had more time, we could spend more time on this. Values just change, right? And companies, as you go through a company's life history, what maybe you valued in the first 10 years, the behaviors you wanted to see from your employees, from your customers, from your suppliers, whoever they might be, that might change as the years go on, right? So values and behaviors I wanted to job at this season journey, on a personal level, it might be, I want to be fit, and I want to bench press 400 pounds, right? So then you set out the values that do that. I'm going to eat certain foods. I'm not going to eat these other kind of foods. I'm going to be at the gym, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever it is. Those are your values. But then let's say you're like me, you get in your 40s. I was telling somebody today, when I go to the gym, I finally reached the age where I got to stop competing with those 26-year-olds, because it literally kills me every single time, right? I feel like I'm close to death, right? So I've learned that I'm now I've entered the age of the middle-aged men in the gym that all of you stare at and you say, "Oh, that's pretty cool. The old guys are over here," right? So that's where I'm at, and I'm comfortable being there now. So you get to my age, and then the value changes, right? I don't need to bench press 400 pounds, but now the value is I still want to be in the gym. I still want to be active. I want to be around all these young bucks in here so I can try to take them on, but the values change. So you get what I'm saying, right? Values change over time, but they're always related to behaviors. Purpose is the reason you exist, and that can be for you, that could be for your team, that's for your organization. You got to figure out what that is, right? So you on an individual level, you stop and there's a whole, I actually wrote a book about this. There's all kinds of ways to figure out how you exist. You got to look at your talents. You got to look at what you're gifted at. You got to look at what your passions are. You got to look at what lights your fire, what makes you angry, what makes you frustrated in the world. There's all kinds of tests that you can take to help you kind of figure this out, but it's really based around kind of your talent, and then what's the thing in the world that you look at and you say, the lack of this in the world really lights my fire, and I need to go after this. So for me, it's leadership. I look around the world, I see a lot of, pardon my French, I see a lot of piss poor leaders. And so for me, and I was a piss poor leader, and I found myself in the UCLA library, and I was reading about Warren Bennis and on becoming a leader, and all of that led me into the journey that I'm currently on now, where I said, look, I got to make some changes. And then I begin to implement some of the principles out there. And really my biggest principle for leadership is empowerment, right? Giving as many decisions away to the people who are on the front lines as possible, empowering other people. It's amazing what people will do when they're empowered to do the job. So that's a big word for me. And I begin to implement that. And I couldn't believe, the things that I were leading begin to expand just enormously, right? Just grow. I've done most of my work kind of in nonprofit work. And so I know how to build people. That's what I know how to take a team, and you say, hey, we need to have 150 people on this team within the next, 18 months. I know how to start with one person and kind of get from one all the way up to 150. It's a lot of hard work, especially when you're dealing with volunteers, but I learned it through empowerment, right? So for me, when I see a lack of empowerment in organizations, that lights my fire. When I see people frustrated with their jobs, and it's not because they're frustrated with the job, they're frustrated with their leaders, they're frustrated with their managers, and I see so much horrible leadership out there, that lights my fire. So then you take my passion to teach, and then what lights my fire is a lack of great leaders out there. I put those two together, and that's how I exist. So you got to figure out the same way. What are your talents and gifts, and then what sets you on fire? I'm even saying, you might be out there and you say, you know what, and I'm just throwing this out. You might say, I'm a single parent. I'm just going to throw this out. Maybe you're a single dad. You say, I'm a single dad. I'm at home. My only job is my child. Like I don't know what my purpose could be, Prof. JC. And I would look at that and I'd say, hey, where do your skills lie? And maybe you say, I'm just really great at being a dad. Awesome. Okay. So that's what you're great at. Now, what are you most passionate about? I'm really passionate about helping my daughter. I'm really passionate about helping my son. Really passionate about helping my children grow to their fullest and highest potential. Boom. That's your purpose right there. Right. Now that may change over time, right? Because things shift and things change or whatever. Your kids get older, they leave the home, right? So then you might have to find another purpose. Maybe you go to the Boys and Girls Club and work with other kids, or whatever it may be, right? But now you figured it out. I'm passionate about this. I'm really good at being a parent. I'm passionate about helping my kids grow up. That's your person. That's your purpose. You have to do the same thing when it comes to organizations as well. Your vision is, and this is what I hear a lot of people get this wrong. They start talking about vision and they're way off in left field. Vision is the destination I intend to go. Vision you can see. right? So if I live in San Diego and I'm getting ready to make a trip to New York City, my vision is to get to New York City, and I can actually achieve that. I can see that. I can see New York City on a map. I can see New York City in front of me. That's my vision. It's the destination I want to get to. Okay, so for a company, it could look like we want to, I don't know, our profit margins, we want to get to an annual revenue of $20 million a year. I don't know, right? That could be a vision. It could be a vision, we want to reach, let's say you're a school. I don't know, you started a school. You say by, 3 years from now, we want to have a school that has 500 kids, right? So that could be your vision. And you can benchmark that, and you can benchmark towards that, but then you can also look and say, did I reach my outcome? Right? Did I reach the outcome, or am I falling short of that outcome? Right? A vision is something you can clearly see where you're going. A mission is how you intend to reach your destination, how you intend to get there. Right? So going back to the example of New York City, if my vision is to get to New York City and I live in San Diego, I got to figure out how am I going to get there? Am I going to take a train? Am I going to take a plane? Am I going to drive my own car? Am I going to rent a car? Am I going to drive straight there overnight, right? Take 3 nights and just drive straight, rotate drivers and get straight there? Am I going to make a lot of stops along the way and see the country along the way, and maybe visit some friends or family members on the way, or take my kids to different vacation spots along the way and make it like a really long trip? That's, that's the mission. It's how you get there, okay? So again, purpose is what do you exist for? What does your business exist for? Your vision is where exactly are you going and what can you see? And then your mission is how exactly are you going to get there? Okay. When you understand these 5 things, your principles, your values, okay, and then you understand your purpose, your vision, your mission for you, for your organization, for your team. When you get all of this down, I promise you, life's going to get much, much easier for you, and you're going to have a clear direction on where you want to go. Thanks so much for listening to this today. I hope this has added a lot of value to you. Hey, the instructions are going to be down below, so make sure you read the instructions and you follow the instructions in Canvas, and make sure to fill out the assignment. And I appreciate you taking time to listen to this today. I hope it's been a game changer for you. I'll talk to you soon.